Isaiah 51 addresses the historical struggle between Jewish captives and the worldly empires that claimed authority over them, framing their fear within the context of divine protection. Verses 12 through 14 challenge the nature of that fear. I, even I, am he that comforteth you. Who art thou that thou shouldest be afraid of a man that shall die, and of the Son of Man which shall be made as grass? These are the mud-brick ruins of Babylon. For the exiles living here, the fury of the oppressor was a daily reality, manifesting as a constant fear for their survival and the basic bread required to stay alive. This fear eventually transferred to the Roman Empire, represented here by this stone relief of legionaries. The captives remained in a state of continual dread, anticipating destruction at the hands of their imperial overlords. The text highlights a theological contradiction. The people are paralyzed by empires that are destined to wither like grass, while simultaneously forgetting the eternal Maker who stretched forth the heavens and laid the foundations of the earth. Political oppression, however dominant it appears, remains historically transient when compared to the permanence of divine authority. Verse 15 shifts the focus to the power of the Creator. But I am the Lord thy God, that divided the sea, whose waves roared. The Lord of hosts is his name. This imagery recalls the deliverance of Israel from Egypt during the time of Moses, establishing a precedent for God's ability to overcome imperial power. In this Egyptian wall painting, we see the subjugation of a once mighty empire. The text argues that this same power that anciently reduced Egypt is the force currently promising deliverance to the exiles. Verse 16 describes this protection as a divine covering. And I have put my words in thy mouth, and I have covered thee in the shadow of mine hand. This covenant protection defines a specific era for the Jewish people, beginning with the return from Babylon in 538 BC and continuing through the Second Temple period until the Roman intervention in 70 AD. The ultimate divine objective is stated as planting a new heavens, laying the foundations of a new earth, and definitively claiming Zion as a chosen people. Divine deliverance serves a purpose far beyond temporary political freedom. It establishes an eternal people and provides the foundation for a renewed creation. Historical consequences followed when first-century Jerusalem eventually turned away from this divine guidance. Verse 17 delivers a stark warning. Awake, awake, stand up, O Jerusalem, which has drunk at the hand of the Lord the cup of his fury. This silver chalice represents the cup of trembling the city was forced to drain. The text describes Jerusalem as having wrung out the dregs of this cup, signifying that the city's persistent wickedness, the crucifixion of Christ, and the killing of the apostles had finally exhausted divine patience. Verse 18 notes a total lack of leadership. There is none to guide her among all the sons whom she hath brought forth. This lack of guidance manifested historically as severe internal political failure and violent infighting within the city walls. 3 rival zealot factions, led by Eleazar, John, and Simon, divided Jerusalem, fighting for control of the temple and the upper city even as the enemy approached. This internal division and the loss of unified guidance left Jerusalem paralyzed and defenseless against the Roman siege. Verse 19 describes the outcome of this collapse: desolation and destruction, and the famine and the sword. This desolation arrived through the Roman legions, who began their systematic destruction of Jerusalem and Judea in 66 AD, concluding in 70 AD. Rome plundered the city entirely, an event immortalized on the Arch of Titus, which shows soldiers carrying away the sacred menorah. Verse 20 describes the physical state of the population. Thy sons have fainted. They lie at the head of all the streets, as a wild bull in a net. This refers to the horrifying reality of city-wide starvation that occurred during the siege. The 3 zealot factions sabotaged their own defense by intentionally burning each other's grain stores in a desperate bid to force internal submission. This self-inflicted famine, destroying supplies that could have lasted years, delivered the city into the hands of the Roman commander Titus far sooner than expected. The external sword of Rome and the internal famine caused by the rejection of divine law combined to seal Jerusalem's tragic fall. The text finally transitions from these historical punishments to a promised, unshakable future restoration. Verse 21 addresses the survivors. "Therefore hear now this, thou afflicted and drunken, but not with wine." The Lord promises to act as a redeemer, stepping in to plead the cause for the afflicted who had been led astray. Verse 22 issues a final decree. "Behold, I have taken out of thine hand the cup of trembling, thou shalt no more drink it again." These massive blocks of the western wall symbolize a permanent foundation. This promise points to a second restoration, guaranteeing that there will be no further overthrows of Jerusalem once this restoration is complete. The chapter concludes with verse 23, which describes putting the cup into the hand of them that afflict thee. This signals a divine transfer of judgment. The cup of suffering is removed from Israel and placed into the hands of their oppressors. In the final days, Israel will no longer be afflicted by divine wrath as they were in the past. We see this endurance reflected in the modern Old City, which stands today above the ruins of its historical destruction. This concludes our overview.